this week. So they've not been doing so well. So for Liverpool to go there and lose that suggests to me that there's been a lowering of kind of confidence. It's a bit complacent, but of course we don't know. The beauty of football is that these results, these odd results, do happen sometimes. But yeah, it was still a shock. But I think, yeah, I still think Slot could have a bit of a bump early next season, for better or worse. He's going to get some new players, probably very good players, but they've still got to mesh in. They've still got to settle in with the what's left of the team. But I think we're going to see quite a different Liverpool football team next season. I think it will be quite different in terms of clientele, their playing staff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I still think they will do enough. They've done enough really to win the league. They're still a long way ahead of Arsenal, for example. So I can't see them faltering to that degree. No.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. Let's hope not, because it'll be interesting for me to watch.
You're not a Liverpool fan, I take it, because you're a Man United fan.
No, I am not a Liverpool fan. If not even in the slightest. Not even in the slightest. So there was also another game yesterday. Manchester United and Man City. It was a derby, and I don't know what I expect from that game, but I was disappointed, even not knowing what I expected.
You expected goals, I expect, didn't you? We all expected goals.
I did expect.
We didn't get any.
Yeah, I did expect a goal either for Manchester United or against Manchester United. I wanted to see a goal, and I was disappointed. What did you make of that, Manchester, the derby?
Yeah, I wouldn't have predicted as a 0-0 draw for that. I got to say, there's too many good players in the team, both teams, for that to have happened. But again, whether it's a sort of, it's not the end of the season yet by any means, but whether, you know, neither of them are going to win the league. That's the reality of it. Manchester United are still in the bottom half. They would probably have more desire to get something out of the game than Man City. I think it's like two giants of the game, albeit Man United haven't been as good this year, but you know, sort of measuring each other up and sparring a bit and trying to find the weakness in the opposition. And I think it's a bit like that, because you go back a year or two, probably Manchester City would have had enough to beat them, to be honest. But I think now we all see this season, Manchester City going through clearly the beginnings of a change of players and so on. So they are in a transition. So it's kind of equalised the teams at the moment, because at the same time, Manchester United, they're going to be offloading some players clearly and getting some new ones in. So it was a bit like two sparring giant heavyweight boxers just trying to find a weak spot. And it just wasn't going to happen. It just almost became predictable towards the end that it was going to be a 0-0 draw. Yeah. It's a funny thing that a 0-0 scoreline always somehow implies a bit of a bore draw, a bit of a boring game. And I'm not sure whether I would call it boring. I watched it yesterday. It certainly wasn't the usual, you know, high tempo, high excitement sort of game that you might expect from those two very great rivals in Manchester, aren't they? They refer to each other perhaps as the noisy neighbours. I think that came from Alex Ferguson originally of Manchester City. There's clearly a lot of mutual respect amongst the managers and stuff like that. There's clearly a lot of mutual respect amongst the managers and stuff like that. So, yeah, it disappointed to me. A derby like that was a disappointment, no question about it. Whereas if I can just move on to, not because I'm a Palace fan, but the game on Saturday with Brighton was a very exciting game. I mean, it usually is because of this rivalry, which goes back some years to something I think Alan Mullery once said when he was manager of Brighton. And I don't really remember the details of it, but there was some criticism of Palace and so on. And that somehow led to this, what they call the M23 derby, because Brighton are down the end of that, down the coast. The M23 doesn't even go to the coast, but that's what it's referred to. There's probably about, I don't know, 40, 45 miles between the two teams. I've said before, I'm nearer to Brighton. I live nearer to Brighton than I do Palace. But no, it was a very good game. And I think for the Palace, I mean, both sets of fans, they want the bragging rights. And this season, Palace had done the double over Brighton. At their place, we won. I think it was 3-1, and Saturday we won as well. It's the first time we've done that in about a good number of years. It's a long time, because Brighton are a good side. I don't think they were perhaps up to their usual form on Saturday, and they haven't been at it because they lost in the week 3-0, I think, didn't they? Recently, maybe that was the cup game, I don't remember, but they're not doing so well. But they're a very good footballing side. They're good possession football. Players, like Danny Welbeck, he scored one of their goals, or their goal on Saturday. But yeah, it was an excellent end-to-end sort of game. Whereas I don't think the Manchester derby was. But then it's a game of opinions, isn't it? Others would have watched it and said, "Oh, what a great game." What did you think? Did you think it was a great game to watch?
Yeah, that was what I was going to come to next after the Manchester one. But yeah, when I watched it, I don't know what happened actually, because there's 3 red cards. Did you see that?
Palace, yeah,
3 red cards. So 2 for Palace, and then 1 for Brighton. And at one point, Palace was down to 9 players.
Yeah, and they still had 11 at that stage.
And they still
had 11.
They still had 11 at that stage. Yeah. So I watched the match, and I know Palace is being spectacular this late half of the season. They didn't start the season very well. They didn't start the season very well up to December, but this year they seem to have, found the magic and turn things around.